So this morning, I'm mustering up all the courage I can to tell you a real horror story. A story that I have never told you before. I didn't even include it in my book, The Entrepreneur Rollercoaster, when I was revealing all my utmost painful failures and defeats. I didn't partly because I never really wanted to recall this story, and mostly because it is horrifyingly embarrassing. This comes from when I was in real estate, and it was, so it was a beautiful sunny day in Northern California. The day started out like a typical day. I would be out walking the streets in my marketplace, prospecting for new real estate sales. So I parked my car at the end of the street. I stepped out. I took a deep breath, steadied myself for the onslaught of rejection that was sure to come. I'd always carry a small little notepad with me with 50 check boxes on it. And I wouldn't allow myself to get back in that car until I had 50 rejections on it. Oh, and I was used to the blinds being drawn as they saw me coming up the street, or seeing the eye through the peephole and then having people pretend that no one was home. Or I was used to doors being slammed in my face and kids throwing rocks at me from across the street. You get used to it. But this day, I almost died. For real. I was about 30 rejections in, and I was moving from one house to the next, and I saw up the side alley of one of the houses what looked like something out of a B-rated horror movie. Was it a bear, a horse, or just a deranged dog? Whatever it was, it took one look at me, bared its fangs, and came charging right at me. At first, I leapt back just a bit, partially because I was startled, and partially because I assumed that he'd get to the end of his leash soon. I then quickly realized there was no leash. My brain shouted, "Run!" In that moment, I was recalling what a sales trainer once told me. What's the worst thing that can happen? You're not gonna die. Evidently, he lied. I let out a high-pitched scream, "Help!" That must have sounded like a 12-year-old girl who just saw a spider under her bed covers. The two of us raced down the block, me sprinting and screaming for my life, and the beast enjoying a jog before his next meal. I went to hurdle a small hedge, but just as I was about to clear it, the monster clipped my back foot and it catapulted me face first into the rock garden and lawn on the other side. A heartbeat later, I felt the dog's hot breath on my neck. This is it, I thought, the final rejection. Just then, its owner yelled out its name, Cujo! Probably. The beast with all four paws stood on my back until its owner, Stephen King, probably, made it out to us. But then his mad dog's satanic drool had puddled on the back of my neck. The owner was in hysterics at the scene. Me with my face buried in the lawn, trying to hide my crying eyes, my file folders strewn across the entire street, and his demon canine standing proudly on my back. He couldn't stop laughing as he handed me one of my files and delighted in telling me that my shirt was split open and my pants tore through both knees. He offered no further assistance as he laughed all the way back to his yard, Cujo in tow. Needless to say, that was one of the few times that I got back in my car before all 50 check boxes were filled. I went straight home and went to bed. And I never told anyone. Only me, Steven, and Cujo know what happened. And I guess, well, now you. But the next day, I went at it again. But this time I had mace. I tell you this story to remind you that the journey to success is not always a walk in the park. Sometimes you have to run, and sometimes your defeats will be painful and embarrassing. Just know, it's part of your heroic journey. We all have to face foes on our path. Sometimes they have fangs, some throw sticks and stones, some even embezzle, fraud, or cheat on you. It will happen. It's okay. As long as you live, you'll be better for it. It will help your growth going forward, as long as the next day you get right back at it. Never stop making progress. Never stop moving forward. If you are bold enough to share, what is a time in your life in which you successfully bounced back from failure or an embarrassing defeat? Share that with us in the comments below.